So you talked about balancing the budget when you were in Congress.
Yes, sir.
What would you cut? What would you reform right now so we get to a balanced budget? Because the debt just keeps rising, and it's going to eventually affect the nation whether we like it or not.
I think I was the first candidate in this race to talk about the national debt and to recognize that 75% of federal spending is in entitlements. Let's begin with a simple fact. If we don't reform Social Security in 8 years, the average household will face a $17,000 a year cut, mandatory cut under the law. So doing nothing is not an option, although that is the policy of Joe Biden. And candidly, it's the policy of my former running mate, who won't even talk about reforming entitlements. But I will. Look, I've been in the Congress. I've been in these battles before, but Republicans have taken these issues on, and they're tough. Because the Democrats and some of their allies in the media invariably will demagogue the issue, right? We all remember grandmother in a wheelchair going over a cliff, right? I think it's different now. I mean, when George W. Bush tried to reform Social Security, we had about a $5 trillion national debt. Now it's this, we have a national debt the size of our nation's economy, $33 trillion. But that $33 trillion left unreformed becomes $150 trillion in the next 20 years. If you think inflation is bad today, think about inflation that will be derived from a $33 trillion, $150 trillion national debt. So we got to take it on. It's going to take leadership to take it on. Congress will never do it. Congress does two things well: nothing and overreact. Okay? So this is going to take presidential leadership. Here's what I would do. All right? Because anybody that tells you we're going to balance the budget without talking about entitlements, not being honest with you. Everything they're arguing over in Washington, D.C. right now is they're nickel and diamond with about 10% of the budget. Fact. Some of these experienced state legislators know what I'm talking about. Here's how you do it. You want to know how you do it? Number one, you say, anybody got hair the same color as mine? This doesn't apply to you. Okay? No, it doesn't. If you're 65 or older or you've reached the age of retirement, we're not going to touch Social Security. Number two, I'll say to anybody 40 years old or older, it's not going to apply to you either. I don't believe in changing horses in the middle of the stream. You've been paying into Social Security half of your working career, we'll keep the deal. But for younger Americans, I'd like to stand up there for fun. I'd like to have a conversation. I'd like to take that New Deal program of FDR, and I'd like to offer you a better deal. Here's how it'll work. If you'd be willing to accept a later age of retirement, maybe a means test, maybe a cap on earnings if you've done as well as we all know you're going to do. Okay. Here's the deal. I'm going to let you take a portion of your payroll taxes over the course of your life and put it into a personal savings account. Social Security gives you a 1% rate of return on what we put into today. If you just make a 2% rate of return on a U.S. mutual fund of American companies, you'd get twice what you get from Social Security, and it'd be your money. That sound like a better deal?
Definitely don't want to be living with my mom until I'm 25, I'll tell you.
I like this guy. Give him a round of applause.